Thank you very much once again for agreeing for the interview. I'm very, very excited to interview. So, if we just kind of jump straight into it, I guess. So, do you want to kind of just introduce who you are and kind of talk about your book a little bit, kind of summarize what it is?
Sure, I can try. I go by BW Green, and I'm a wife. I'm a mom to two girlies, and I'm a nurse practitioner. And since I started writing down the story in my head about 3 years ago, I've been a writer too. Kind of one of those. I started more in the science route, but I've always loved stories. So then one day I was playing with my daughter, just playing blocks, something kind of mindless, and I just started going back to making up stories in my head, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll write it down. And then it kind of got away from me. So now I have books and social media interviews and all kinds of things. Kind of fun. So so my book, so I like writing, I like kind of starting with the wonder of, can I explain this legend or this kind of fairy tale kind of thing with science? That's just kind of how my brain goes. So I like to take a fantasy or a paranormal story and then kind of reimagine it with scientific explanation. So for Lifeblood, I took vampires, which I find interesting, intriguing. There's a lot of stories about them, and I thought, what if they were humans with a genetic mutation caused by a naturally occurring virus? What would happen? And went from there. So, obviously my main character doesn't start out knowing this. Ethan, who's a geneticist from New York City, doesn't know any of that. So all he knows is that he got talked into spelunking in a Romanian cave and just heard a high-pitched clicking sound.
Yeah.
So that's where we start.
That is awesome. And I love the fact that you're like kind of talking about, like you said, there's legends and myths, and then you're like, well, what if, we translated it into something sciencey? That's fascinating for me, because I did a science degree, so like I love kind of anything to do with science. So anytime someone introduces science and kind of, like you said, with legends, and I'm fascinated by it, like how does it all work? So that's really cool. Brilliant. So obviously you said a little bit about your book. Can you kind of, what's the genre of your book? Are there any trigger warnings to it?
Yeah. So because I'm like just explaining fantasy with science, I always struggle exactly where to plug it. So a lot of times I'll call it like science urban fantasy or something along those lines, because there is the science, but then most people who are going to look to read a book about vampires are going to look more in a fantasy kind of genre. So, I mean, a lot of times they even want to put it in paranormal, which I kind of shy away from because I don't explain it that way, and it's not supernatural, but it definitely kind of an urban fantasy feel. So I often do science urban fantasy, if that's a thing. Trigger warnings. So there is some moderate violence, and I am a nurse, so I do objectively describe some gore. I mean, there's vampires, right? I don't sensationalize it, but it's in there realistically. There's some kind of, I guess, psychological trauma to go with it a little bit, kind of the use of a relationship to manipulate a little bit. Nothing explicit on page, no spice on page. And then there is some PTSD and some suicidal ideation.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I think that's a good kind of amount of trigger warnings for a book with that kind of stuff. For me, that's exactly what I like, so.
That's perfect. Okay. Yeah, it's one of those, I think you might infer this by the genre, but just in case.
Yeah, no, I don't mind a bit of gore on page, so. Yeah, that is awesome. Right, next question we've got here is, what is your favourite out of context quote?
So I'm really terrible at pulling quotes up, but my friend pulled this one, and I think it just kind of like nutshells it. So it goes, was he insane, as John accused, because he thought he was a vampire? Or was he insane because he thought he could be Ethan Dalton again, when that man had surely died?
Ooh, I like that. That is, yeah, I love that quote. Because it's got those two different kind of bits in it. I love that. Yeah, I will say I like that a lot, but I'm still getting used to interviews and stuff, so we're kind of, we're getting that. But
me too.
Amazing, brilliant, and great quote. I know, I'm going to say that. And was there like an inspiration for your book?
So I guess it was. I mean, and you kind of got your questions, and this kind of answers the next one too. But
Yeah.
I think it mostly started with like watching monster movies with my dad.
Mhm.
So like that was just kind of our thing. I mean, like, and it was funny, even as little kids, I can remember watching Jurassic Park with him, and he knew where all of the language was and where all of the scary dinosaur scenes, and he would like pause or mute or fast forward or whatever. We
Oh,
would still watch, and we
yeah.
thought it was the greatest thing. Um, so I think it probably started with just kind of watching that kind of thing. Oh, here comes my kitty across the camera. Oh,
Hello.
don't hit buttons. Come here, Bobby.
Oh.
There you are. Um, monster movies. So, and including vampire movies. So it's kind of one of those.
Yeah.
Just thinking that through, and like I said, adding the science background to it. I think that's where it started. Kind
Yeah.
of one of those. I don't know. It just popped in my head one day.
Yeah, that's awesome because I know, like, for me, I mean, I don't write books. I'm attempting to, but not currently succeeding. But a lot of like my inspiration is from like watching TV shows or something, and suddenly I
Yeah.
have an idea, and I'm like, oh, and I'll write it down. But I need to actually complete something at some point. It's being a bit
Well,
slow, but
I never know. I didn't intend to complete anything, and then it just got away from me.
yeah.
So
I mean, it's awesome that you've got a book. So
fun.
very, yeah. So I guess you kind of have touched on the next question, which is any books or TV shows that influenced your writing. Was there like any
Yeah.
specific ones, or was it just general?
So I remember like specifically as far as vampire movies, like watching like Underworld and Daybreakers, which is like kind of a more obscure one, and The Cave, which is doesn't sound like it goes, but it kind of does. And they all kind of had like little science elements. So like Underworld has like the bloodline and all that, and then Daybreakers has a reluctant vampire who wants to cure himself, and in the cave, it's a group of cavers who get trapped, and there's these monsters inside. But they turns out they were actually, spoiler, humans turned into the monsters by a parasite. Oh, that's interesting. And it's in Romania, so I'm like, ooh, vampire legend. So I just kind of, thought about those, and I was like, what if I push it a little more specifically? Um, and then I guess as far as books, it's not specific genre, but like a writer who has influenced my voice probably the most is Stephen James. He's a writer whose faith influences his writing, but isn't the main plot, kind of like I write. And he's also like very suspenseful and kind of direct in his writing, so not flowery, but just kind of direct. And I've learned a lot just by reading his fiction books, and then also his non-fictional novel writing. Really helped me when I realized that I was writing a book. Like maybe I should write it better. It really influenced the way that I write. So he's probably the author who's the most influenced my writing.
Nice. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I haven't really heard of many of those, but I'm sure they're great. Especially if they've influenced
Obscure
your
monster.
writing. So, yeah. The cave one sounds pretty interesting now. I might have to look it up myself.
It has like a low rating on IMDb, and I don't understand because my dad and I watched it over and over.
Yeah.
It's possibly like a specific audience, so no worries if you don't appreciate it. But I always thought it was
I'll look
great.
it up anyway. Brilliant. And the next little Vita, I'm not going to say Vita. The next little segue, that's the word I was looking for, is talking about music a little bit. So do you like have a playlist for your book, or do you like, when you're writing, I know some people like to listen to music to kind of influence their writing. Is there like, do you have a playlist, or do you like listen to music when you write?
I totally do. So I'm used to writing in very noisy environments where I've got kids, and if I'm not with my children, I'm probably in a coffee shop or something. So I nearly always listen to music, and I do have a playlist. Yeah, I've got a whole thing, and I'll do this thing where I'll find the song that's kind of perfectly with the scene, and I'll just listen to it on repeat while I'm writing the scene, and then it's almost like that is now the soundtrack to that scene. So whenever I hear this song later, I'm like, oh, that's the sad scene. I can't listen to this song or something ridiculous. But yes, I have an entire playlist for this book and the next one. So.
Amazing. Are there like any specific songs on there you can kind of recommend, I guess, to kind of go with your book, I guess, since you have a playlist for it?
Yeah, I'm like, I got the whole thing. So it depends. So I'll listen to different styles. So I will do the soundtrack route with the no words, but then I'll also have like full lyrics. So like at the beginning of my book, I was listening a lot to Prometheus soundtrack, and possibly another slightly obscure alien movie. But it's got a lot of the right mood at the beginning of my book. And then kind of toward the end, I get in my main character's head, and it just kind of, I've listened to this song called Ghost by Annika. She's got this great voice, but it's like I'm in his head, even though it's a female singer, but I'm in Ethan's head whenever I hear that song. So that's kind of fun.
That's really cool. Yeah. No, Prometheus is a good soundtrack, I will say that. I have listened to it. Not for a while, but I have had it occasionally come across on my phone, and it's quite a good soundtrack, so...
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah, amazing. And then, keeping on that music theme, if your book had one specific song that you had to kind of, I guess, maybe pick out of your playlist, or just something that you listen to generally, to kind of be the vibe for your book, what would it be?
Such a hard one. Again, I still like Ghost would definitely be for the main character. For the whole book, it's a little tricky. I tell you what, for the series, I actually found this fun song, "I Know Your Secrets" by Katie Garfield. Sorry, I'm like looking at my playlist. Just because the whole series it's called Bloodstained Archives, and I'll go, my little tagline is like, "Where do you hide your secrets?" And so that one kind of like goes with the whole series, the idea of hiding your secrets in different kinds of places, and how archives can kind of mean like old books, but also we use the same term for like digital archives, so it's kind of fun.
That is good. Yeah, awesome. Love that. That is very cool. Yeah, it's really hard to pick, I guess, for like your whole book, because like you said, you've got a playlist, so I guess you've got like certain songs specific.
I've got like 40 of them. The playlist link, there's a whole.
So yeah, I guess it is harder just to kind of pick one, I guess. But yeah, that is amazing. Right, next question. I think you've vaguely touched on this, I think, a bit. Why did you choose to kind of write about legends and then genetics as well, in terms of like your sciencey side of it, or why genetics?
Again, I think legends intrigue us, right? There's something that keeps getting passed down and changed by each generation, but they're still there. Like, something about vampires is intriguing. It has been for like ages, if you look back on the legends. So, but then, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, taking that and thinking, okay, how could that have a scientific basis if it really did exist? And of course, that led me to genetics, because I was like, how else would you kind of have these physical alterations? And so I needed a genetic to help me unravel that, and so that's where that came in. So I created Ethan, who he's a nerd, a little like me, a little like my husband. I can't understand him, and he's got the focus needed to understand how this might have come to be. So
that's cool. Yeah, and I guess with the genetic side of it, it means a lot of that research, because like your main character is, and he has that, I think I've seen on your Instagram, he's got, is it a PhD, and then he's written a paper as well. How did you go about researching that? Because that's really interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of research. It's kind of one of those things that kept me from writing it down for a while. I was like, but if I'm going to write it down, I actually have to know what I'm talking about. Fortunately, I do have a master's degree in nursing, so I have it, not genetics, but I have been I have at least been to graduate school, so I know I have a big idea how to look up articles and read research. Okay, so that helps some. And then obviously, like, reading into the actual genetics can get above my head a little quickly, but I just read a lot of papers, a lot of textbook chapters, got a lot of things that I like vaguely understood, or looked up specifics a little bit more. I also have bounced ideas off my husband. He's a medical doctor, again, not geneticist, but can kind of understand, if I get too technical, I lose the reader anyway, so we kind of bounce that.
That base up.
And then, after I'd written it, I have an acquaintance who actually has a PhD in genetics, and I was like,
nice.
Could you read a few of these things and see if I got them mostly right? And she gave me some really great feedback, so that was also helpful.
That's amazing. So yeah, a lot of research went into that then. That's really interesting. And was there like any other research you did for the book? Like anything else that wasn't about genetics?
Yeah, so it's set in New York City, which I have actually lived there, so that was very cool. I could kind of bring that in. And then also Romania, where I have not lived. So I did, your general Google Earth kind of research on that.
Yeah.
And then my friends went there, and I was like, oh wait, tell me everything. So they've actually been really helpful. This is my friend who actually helped me with the cover art. They went, and this is why the book exists, is they went to Romania, and then I said, please tell me everything about Romania. And then I was like, I should tell you why I really want to know about Romania. See, I'm writing this book, and it went from there. But that was a very fun way. I like finding somebody who's kind of a expert or has experience in the thing that I want to know, and just learning from them too, whenever possible.
That is amazing. And I love the fact you said to your friends, like, just tell me everything, because that's what I would do as well. If like someone went somewhere I want to learn about, I'd be like, so what was your experience? You know, what did you see? Give me all the little
Show
details.
me all the pictures. Tell me what it felt like.
Yeah.
Did they talk this way? Did they? Yeah.
I mean, again, it's not another question on here, but like, carrying on from that research, are you like, at some point, do you think you're ever going to go to Romania, I guess? Because you've written about it?
I would love to go to Romania. I have traveled, so I've lived overseas as a teenager. Like, I've kind of lived all over, and I have traveled. I just haven't been to that part of Europe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely on my list. I have 2 little kids at the moment, so I'll just gotta let them grow a little bit. But I do intend to get there at some point. I've also climbed around in a lot of caves on this side of the ocean, so that was my other piece of research.
Nice. Yeah. That's amazing. I mean, I've never been to Romania either, but I'd like to go at some point too. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, I live over here in the UK, so I guess it's easier for me to kind of get to places in Europe, because I can just get on a plane. It's probably cheaper as well. But yeah, no, I've got a lot more places I want to visit, and it gets increasingly more expensive, so I'm going to make a big savings at the moment. Anyway, moving swiftly on to the next question. I think we've kind of tapped on this as well, because talking about your main character, Dr. Ethan Dalton, he has that PhD in genetics, and then, like I said, written a paper. Why did you choose him to be a geneticist? I know you've probably kind of tapped on this already, but...
Yeah, like that was what I needed for myself to explore the research. I'm not a plotter, as they say. I will write, thanks to Stephen James. I have a name that's my author mentor.
Yeah.
You may not know that, but he's my author mentor. He uses the term organic writing, so not writing pointlessly, like you know how a story works, but also not having to plot it all out in advance. All that to say, Ethan helped me kind of discover how it actually worked. As he discovers, I discovered. So I like I said before, I think I needed a PhD in genetics to help me figure out how this works, and then it just became very cool. And he's a total nerd, which is fun. It's more of a character I understand than like a hero. So I like a nerdy guy who can also take care of himself. Watch out. But yeah, I think I answered the question. I'm like going back to think about it. But yeah, so I just needed him and his science to follow that how is this scientifically possible thread, and he was just perfect for it. So
yeah, oh, that's amazing. Alright, and the next thing is kind of, I guess, less about your books now. But is there like any book recommendations? They could be like, is there anything that you think is kind of similar to your book that you could recommend, or is there like and just general books you want to recommend?
Yeah, I will say finding one similar, and I don't want to be like, oh, I'm the only one who's written this way, but personally, when I'm looking for a book about vampires, I have a hard time finding one that's not either focused on romance or very focused on, you know, the spice or that kind of storyline, which is not what I was looking for as a reader or as a writer, and so I've written something a bit different. Not to say they're not out there, I just haven't found them yet. So if anybody else knows of the vampire science-y, non-romantic book, I would love to read it. But I think in general, just books that I really love. Like I mentioned, Stephen James, he's more of like a thriller writer, but I really like his books in the way that he asks questions, and like you can, knowing that he's a man of faith, you can kind of see that, but it's not really the main point, or the main plot. It is a point, but not the main plot. It's just kind of, you can see from his point of view. Fantasy, I always love Brandon Sanderson. He's just unparalleled in his world building. But and then Oh, when I read Project Hail Mary a little bit recently, I just there was my nerd. Like I was like, oh, totally different like setting, right? Space is not New
Yeah.
York City, but I was like there's a line in there that said something about finding an answer that wasn't what he wanted, but it was better than a question. And I was like, Ethan, I wrote that before I read it. I was like, that is you two are kind of similar in your nerdiness.
Yeah.
So that's really been my favorite sci-fi. Sometimes I get lost in a sci-fi when it kind of wanders off from a character, but because I'm I love my characters, like I'm character based. But the character in Project Hail Mary was just wonderful. And then I'll say I gotta plug indie, right? So I'm learning more and more about indie authors, having become one recently. So some good indie authors that I've read recently. Ethan Daniel wrote The Gale Age, which is like kind of an epic fantasy, very fun. CM, I'm gonna mispronounce her name. I apologize. CM Banjbach, I think. She writes character-driven, kind of that urban or lower fantasy stuff. Very character-driven. I'm a sucker for a good character.
Yeah.
And then the last one I read was by Sabrina Rogers, Silence of the Ravens. Very psychological, very has you questioning reality.
Yeah.
It pushed me. I was like, oh, this is like going places. But very, very well written.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, touching on Project Hail Mary, I mean, I haven't read the book yet, but I've watched the film and I really enjoyed it. But it's by the author who also did The Martian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Andy Weir. Yeah.
So I mean, my brother absolutely loves The Martian, and like he's read it, he's watched it, and then obviously it's Project Hail Mary, and he's like, I don't want to watch it just because it's not going to be as good. I was like, yeah, it's not as good as The Martian, but it's still a good movie. But I do need to read it. It's on my list of things to read. Oh, my camera's got blurry. It'll fit. There we go. Refocus.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, I was one of those. Actually watched the film first and then went back and read the book, and I didn't have any regrets. Like I still loved the way that I think once you've tried to write or succeeded in writing, whichever way, like just reading somebody else's writing is like, oh, that is good. So it's a good book.
Yeah, no, it's on my list. I just need to actually get the book first so I can read it. But yeah, and then do you have any current reads? Are you currently reading anything? Or?
Of course, always. I am a little bit of I've discovered like a chaotic mood reader. I've always got at least more than one thing going.
Same.
So, because I'm still pining for Project Hail Mary, I am actually reading Artemis, which is the third one that Andy Weir wrote. So I'm in the middle of that.
I didn't know you said another one.
Yeah, it's not. I don't love it as much. I think it's just a character thing. But it's interesting. I'm intrigued. The world building, I guess you still do that in science fiction a bit, right? Is very interesting. And then the other one that's on my Kindle open, like halfway through, is another indie book, Rise of the Dragon Witch by Timothy Clark. I'm in the middle of that one. That's another kind of epic-ish fantasy.
Yeah. Amazing. And I realised I completely forgot this question on the list here. But is there like anything you're currently like working on? Any future projects you've got in the plans? Or?
Also, always. Apparently, once I started writing it down, I could not stop writing it down. And I have I'm somewhat verbose in writing. Apparently, it takes me longer to get to my ending than I thought it did. Mm-hmm. So I started writing what I thought was one story, and it's multiple stories. So Lifeblood is actually re-releasing this month. So I published it last month, and then as I was writing number 2, because like I said, it got away from me, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write the next one. I learned more, as one does when writing, and realized that great story, but I like my books, even though it's kind of a long story, to kind of be each a book, like have a beginning and an ending, not to like just chop it in the middle. So when I was trying to start number 2, I realized that I'd kind of started it in book number 1, so I just pulled a subplot from there. It wasn't the main plot. The main thing is all the same. So the main story for the main character is the same. The same thing happens with Ethan, but I had introduced a subplot at the end, kind of in a weird spot in retrospect. And so I'm just republishing, pulling that up, putting it in the second one, so it can be kind of a complete story by itself. Still a tie running through the whole thing. But so I'm re-releasing the first one, Lifeblood, in like a week. What day is it? 10 days. So it should be, the new version should be available, the second edition should be available on Amazon and Kindle and KU in a week. and within 10 days. Hopefully I get all the little behind the scenes things straightened out.
Yeah.
And I think it's available for pre-order on Ingram right now. I just did a little update, so it might be in a pause mode, but it should be. So like that carries over to more mainstream, like Barnes and Noble online, those kinds of
Yeah.
for paperback. So that's coming, and then the second one is coming in October. So I just gotta wrap up editing on all the things, and so that comes in October. And then of course I'm still looking ahead because the story didn't stop after 2 either. So
No.
writing 3 always. So,
Amazing.
yeah, watch out beginning writing. It just then your brain doesn't
Yeah,
stop.
it snowballs.
Here you are. Yeah, yes, exactly.
Amazing. And then my last question here is there any advice to aspiring authors who might want to, who have maybe even started writing but then maybe have given up, or they've got ideas but they can't form it into books or anything? Is there any advice?
This may sound a little strange, but I was thinking about this earlier today, and it's not what I wrote down either when I was writing down my answers, but I think do the scary thing. So this is advice I got like unrelated to writing ages ago. I heard this person speak who had done all these crazy things, and she was like, well, how did I get here? Well, I got here by just doing the next thing that scared me. And I was like, that's odd advice. And then as I went in life, I'm like, no, this is true. In most aspects, like even from a personal aspect, like having a child scares me to death. And I have 2 of them. I love them. Parenting is very scary. Just getting a new degree was scary. Starting a new job every time is scary. Every little thing. But then, like choosing to write it down when you have no idea what will become of it ultimately is scary. Getting feedback, very scary, but very worth it. I did a workshop with my mentor author I have at least met him now. He still doesn't know he's my mentor perhaps, but I have met him, and that was very scary. He actually read some pages of my work. This is why book 2 went into a whole tailspin. I got very scary, very fabulous feedback. And showing up on social media is scary. This learning to talk about my book is part of the reason I'm like, yes, please interview me. I need practice because this is scary. So I've discovered if it's scary, that's okay. You got to do the scary thing and see what happens.
That's amazing advice, and I think it's amazing advice for just life in general as well. So I love that. Amazing. I need to maybe do the scary thing and actually start properly writing my book.
You can do it.
At some point I'll get around to it. Just don't have enough time in the world.
I hear that. I don't either, but it just kind of happens in little tiny snippets here and there.
Yeah, and then it'll slowly form. Well, thank you so much for answering all my questions. It's been lovely to have you on here. Hi, it's Magically Unofficial here. Thank you so much for watching this interview. I hope you find a new indie author via watching my videos and discover new indie authors as well. To get notifications for when my next indie author interviews will be out, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel and hit that little bell so you get notified when my next interview is out. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I hope you find a new favourite indie author to read. Bye!